Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you'd like to support this channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they're live, and there's also a PayPal link in the info box below the video. Most importantly though, if you would like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the shape of the Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcomed back on the next stream. Please also share the show. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel. So please share the show. And one last time, if you're new to the channel or you've not done so already, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. Now we are joined by What Shape is the World, Sleeping Warrior, Ranty Flat Earth, Physics Warrior, P Mars, Jose, Event Horizon, Chocolate Saiyan, and Arwin. Good to have you all.
Good afternoon.
Yo. Dodo and Aristarchus, boom.
I'm going to do the housekeeping, but I'm hoping Anthony's got his ears pricked up just for one of Arwin's answers. Watch the last show if you want to know what we're talking about. So we'll start with the usual. Any signs of curvature?
Nope.
No.
Any signs of axial rotation of the Earth-based variety as Ranty's on the panel?
Nope.
No. None.
Any scientific evidence of gravity?
Nope.
9.
Not at all.
There are several phenomena that, when approached mathematically, could be misconstrued for a unified effect, and that is what a lot of people have done. It started out in architecture. Architecture. Keep on saying Dutch. And yeah, it works. It works in their math. It works in construction concepts very easily. But it's basically a ghost. It's an aberration of different phenomena that suggest heavily that there is a force disequilibrium present, but the cause cannot be found. Thus, it's not a unified phenomena that can be proven. It is, I consider it as an aberration, different elements giving a false appearance.
Wow.
Excellent. Excellent. Moving on.
Yeah, that's
maybe
what I
not.
call word salad.
Well, you can take it out if you want.
Well,
That's fine by me.
for a while.
It's good by me if you want to call it word salad. Okay.
That's why I said you need to digest it for a while.
Oh,
Yum,
Richard,
yum,
Yeah, maybe go back and watch it again. Write it
that
down.
yummy word salad. Yum, yum, yum. Any evidence
It
of the distance
seems like
to the
it's
sun?
been a reformation of a previous position, but with more words to make it more complex. It's a bit like obfuscation. That's what it seems like to
No,
me. But
it's-
anyway, Nathan,
It's gonna be my
Elaboration.
homework.
It's not
I'm gonna
obfuscation,
revisit
it's elaboration.
I'm gonna revisit this show later. I'm gonna write it down and I'm gonna spill it out for you tomorrow, Arwin.
Well,
And you
it's
give me the green
recorded.
light. You tell me if it's right or not, right?
It's recorded, so you can keep replay
Right.
again if you like.
Yeah, that recorded bit doesn't actually help you generally, Arwin.
Anyway, moving on. Any evidence of the distance to the sun?
No.
There is no distance to the sun.
Nope.
Any evidence of a
No.
self-perpetuating?
There is no sun location.
Any evidence of a... Hold on. No sun location. Hold on. How can it have a proximity then, Anthony?
Somebody's microphone's open and I can't work out whose it is. It's blocking Nathan off completely.
Let me check.
I don't know.
There's evidence.
That's lovely, P. Thank you for that excellent contribution. So how can it have a proximity if there's no distance to it, Anthony? I don't really understand how that would work.
How can what have a proximity to it?
The sun.
Well, if it's further away from you, you see it from on a lower angle.
Hold on. Further away, as in its physical location?
Well, the manifestation or whatever the thing is that we call the sun, if it's further away from you because it's covering Australia rather than covering where we live, then proximity is the key word. And I thought we had understood this. Is this a new thing?
No, I'm just asking you for a more detailed explanation of what you're explaining. Because
if I flash my headlights at your house, Nathan, you're not going to see it because I'm too far from you. Not because I've gone around a globe, but because I'm not close enough to you. And there's a thing called proximity, which Thingy doesn't get. Joshua. And when Joshua eventually gets it, he's going to feel like a dick. But until he does get it, he thinks that we live on a ball. Sorry, Josh. You just don't understand proximity, mate.
Okie doke. Well, let's move on. Otherwise,
We live on a ball.
Oh, really? How do you know that?
Experience the ball life. I live on this ball.
Is that
Thanks, brother P.
B-A-A-L?
Down, 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 down. Down, 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 down. Anyway.
How do you spell ball, P? Is it
Wrong region.
or is it B-A-A-L?
Ball.
The large ball. We all live on this large ball.
B-A-L-L or B-A-A-L?
Planet Earth. It's a big ball
Yeah.
in space.
Any evidence for that?
Yes.
Where's the momentum? Where's the momentum from the galactic rotations? Irregular,
What you got, Pete?
asymmetrical galactic rotations.
Well, let's see if he's got a 2-point repertoire like Joshua on the last show. Let's get those 2 points out of the way real quick, P. So, what's your first one? You know what you've got. Come on, P. What's in your arsenal?
The evidence of the ball is overwhelming.
Really?
What is it?
Yeah, what is it? Just
You're
give it
making
to
us so curious.
There's a bunch of it.
We like evidence, P.
Are you gonna tell us, or is it just a rumor you're creating right here on the
It's a
spot?
secret. It's a secret.
There's a lot
It's
of evidence.
tantalizing, isn't it?
Oh, so
so-
it's a multitude of evidence. So start presenting one of this
It's a
multitude.
Pick your favourite one, P.
Come
It's
on,
exciting.
come on,
A
P.
plethora of evidences.
Yeah,
This
stop
year-
describing it and start presenting it.
This year, planet Earth is a ball.
Okay, this is weak. Right, moving on. So this is pretty weak trolling. He literally doesn't even have a point to assist his trolling. So let's move on.
This is an orthodox impression.
Yeah. Any evidence of a self-perpetuating molten iron core at the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth?
No,
No.
no,
No.
complete
No.
fabrication.
Nope, nope,
as
nope.
far as I'm concerned.
There's a molten iron core.
There's only paintings of it.
What about the presupposition itself? Any evidence of the R value? Earth radius, gentlemen.
R.
No, none.
The last refuge for the ballers. R.
It's not a presupposition, though.
Sing it, P.
Do you still believe in space, P?
Space P? Is that a special kind of P?
I still believe in space despite all your efforts, Nathan.
So you don't think it's a bit weird that we still have gas pressure given that Earth is apparently in a vast vacuum?
Hey Nathan, I got a good question.
No.
Go ahead, Darwin. You take over.
Right, so let's presume it's all real, okay? Let's say that like an astronaut in a spaceship or the ISS or something just decides to pee and eject that. What's going to happen to the pee? Is it going to freeze like a crystal, or is it actually going to evaporate because of the vacuum pressure differential evaporating it instantly? What do you think is going to happen? What are you
Well,
going to
thinking
say?
about P because of P, Mark.
Boils, right? Water in a vacuum boils, right? Arwin?
Exactly. That's why I'm saying, what's going to happen? Is it going to turn into a urine ice crystal? Or is it actually going to just disperse, evaporate, poof, without a trace? Come on, P.
It's a good question, actually. I'd like
Yeah,
to know
it was a
P thinks.
question.
Can I preempt his answer? We live on a ball. That'll be his answer.
NASA's known about urine therapy for years.
Is Pete like one of those dolls you pull a string out of and he gives you like really ridiculous answers?
I think he's
Every time you pull his string, he comes out with something really stupid.
I think he's in one of his gay moods today where he's not here to talk. I reckon he'll last another 3 or 4 minutes and then start kicking people or get kicked himself, one or the other.
No, it's only if we kick him, then he'll start sniping everyone. So.
Can I share a couple of videos with you guys?
That'd be brilliant.
Please, Slanty, please.
Yes, please. Save us.
Hey?
Oh, shit.
I think that's just a phone dropping.
Man,
Hey,
that was
music.
a lot.
Good to have you. You're up, Ranty.
Right, okay, so...
Hey,
This
Richard.
is a-
Oh, hold on. We've got Richard.
Yeah, he's not in the back chat.
Okay.
There you go.
Sorry, Ranty. You go ahead, mate.
Okay, so this is a control video that I took a few months ago. It was about 1.5 miles further up the coast from where I took the video showing the inferior Mirage yesterday. And there's that telephone mast that I was talking about on the hill. So I'm just going to play the video to give you an idea of what this terrain looks like. As we pan through, we've got these are the sand dunes, basically. The sand dunes go all the way around, heading towards Barrow, obviously. And then we've got the buildings of Barrow over here. I'm going to play you the next video, which is the one I took yesterday with the inferior Mirage on it. So let's just scroll in a bit. And can you see the buildings of Barrow this time?
Yep.
Okay, and lastly, when I come to this part here, look, there's the telephone mast that's sat on the hill, right? And look where the inferior Mirage is. This is where the inferior Mirage is where the actual cursor is on my screen. So I've got a screenshot ready to go. So here's an image of both side by side. So the top one is in the cold weather when it's supposed to be ideal for seeing the curvature of the Earth, except we're seeing an inferior Mirage. And this is the control video that I took a few months ago when the weather was nicer and we could actually just see, which obviously you can see all the terrain here. So obviously we know the water isn't going up to this part here. So if I put a line in going across, say there, big fat line there, and I stick the line in there, that isn't where the water's going up to, because they've always said that this centre point here on the inferior Mirage is where the curvature of the Earth is. Well, that would be impossible if you compare the two. If you compare the two images, there is absolutely no way that that is where the water comes up to. We have houses along this ridge that are lower than this.
Very cool.
Straight line of sight.
So what's causing the blockage? Is it the curvature of the Earth or is it the atmosphere?
I think in this instance it's the atmosphere. I mean, there's really 3 factors you have to take into account, and I discount one of them when I say given a clear day. Then you only have to account for the aperture, i.e. how far you can see and how much information you can resolve, zoom, diffraction limit, angular resolution limit, whatever you want to call it, and the angle of attack. Those are your 2 things. But that means I immediately write off any atmospheric conditions in those 2 examples. So it means, yeah, I can achieve that in a hall. But unfortunately, you do have weather. You know, that does have to be factored in.
Yeah, I mean, it's what I see. I'm seeing this quite a lot. So essentially, let's forget that this hill is here, right? Let's pretend it's not there, and let's just put this boat that's in the foreground now. If this boat was traveling in the foreground just as it is now, but it was on a cold day, you wouldn't see it. It would be hidden behind the atmosphere. I could literally crop this boat out, stick it on here, and it would be lower than where the inferior Mirage is. So you wouldn't see it. And this is what's causing us to see as far as we could do. So do you agree that, you know, that this is curvature of the Earth at the top, and obviously this is looming and refraction at the bottom?
Right. So the one that looks like the one that looks like a floaty bit of land, that's actually Earth curve, and the one that looks nice and clear, that one's slightly looming non-standard refraction hyena. Is that the farcical position that you're proposing here?
This is the farcical position we've had to put up with the Globers telling us that when we see inferior mirages, that is where the curvature of the Earth starts. And I think I'm proving over and over with all the recent videos that that isn't the case. It's the atmosphere, it's atmospheric blockage, which is causing the inferior mirage, which hides everything, all the lower parts of buildings. And if you go anything into the distance, you could literally put Blackpool Tower 35 miles away and it would all be hidden behind the atmosphere.
Right. Good stuff, Ranty. Like a bit of floaty land. Gotta love it.
No worries. I dug it out yesterday, this video. I managed to find one because I've got all my work on my 3 terabyte drive and it doesn't work. Can you believe it?
Heartbreaking. Hopefully you get it fixed.
Ranty, you need to swap the 2 drives over and see does it now work. One of them's conflicting. It's told you how to deal with it. Takes 2 minutes to fix. Swap it over. Come on, get it done.
I've done it. I've taken it.
Have you took the, you know, the drive that you disconnected the other day?
Is it like an SSD disk?
Is he still here?
Yeah, I'm still here. Yeah, I'm still here. Yeah.
Have you took the old, you know, when you disconnected one drive and you left the 3 terabyte drive connected? Twice swap that process round, disconnect the drive that you've got connected and leave the other drive unconnected. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. I'll have time to do that tomorrow. I'm going out tonight, unfortunately, so I need to have a bath. So it means that I now have to leave, unfortunately.
Right.
Are you off now? Bummer. Well, thank you very much for showing us that, Ranty. That's really I really appreciate that.
No worries at all. Because I'm just going to release that video now, so give it another half an hour, and that other video will be up. So that's why I wanted to just show you the old video that I took when it was nice weather versus the image that I'm going to be the video I'll be releasing today that shows it with the inferior mirage.
See that Mark Doxey had snipped out yesterday's presentation that you did. Did you see that? He called it meat and potatoes.
Oh, right. What does that mean?
He was just saying that I'd probably normally say bread and butter. That's what we used to say in sales, at least, like a bread and butter sale, like what the ones that keep you going, ticking over. But it's just a bread and butter observation, like down to the brass tacks of what you're actually doing. Is just observing the flat reality we're faced with. So I think, as opposed to discussing conceptual ideas like eggs and tomatoes.
Got you. Right, well, I'll step out, guys, and I'll leave you to it again.
Thanks, Ranty.
Thank you for coming, Ranty, and Boo for leaving.
See you later, guys.
Thanks, Ranty.
See you later, buddy.
So, Event, did you manage to publish your video that you did in the supermarket?
Yeah, that was pretty hilarious because I kind of did it on the fly. I went down to my local Asda at about 5:30, so it was really busy. And I was right down the far end by the alcohol section, like kind of on my knees with my shopping basket. So I did it quickly. When I went to look at it, I put my phone upside down. So I had lots of feet disappearing in the background and where the bottom of the shelving units where it's all black, that was getting compressed as well. But I had to look at it upside down, so I wasn't going to publish it. So my plan is to go back down to my Asda, which is a 24, go down at about 9-10 o'clock at night and do it again, and then definitely I'll publish that one.
I'm going to make a
for me there was.
I'm going to make a prediction that M. Scott Veach declares your floor observation in your Asda or wherever as a convex floor, like he did with Nathan, because he actually believes that Nathan's floor is a convex floor.
Hey,
that's why all the trolleys go flying.
That's why they like it for the children to run along on. They like personal injury claims. It's also why the table tennis players like it, because it's really uneven. It helps with the game.
Yeah, bendy floors are good for table tennis.
Absolutely.
Yeah, everything's curved. You can't get away from it. It's curved. It's obvious. It's everywhere. It's even in freaking supermarkets. The curve is everywhere.
Generally, builders pride themselves on making curvy floors. That's how they get paid the top dollar.
Is that Adam or Josh?
It is Adam.
It's Adam. You have to put that special curving screed down first, don't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very tricky and complex and time consuming to get those floors just so curved, but they do it just for the benefit of globehead religious zealots, so that they can have their way with an argument. I'm sure that's what the builder had in mind when he said, "No, I'm going to make this floor curved."
Have you found any curvature recently, Adam?
Of the earth-based?
Well, no, of like women based. It's a flat Earth debate. Come on, don't do the ranty trick on us.
Well, that's that. Then in that case, no.
No.
Sorry,
There's not a lot of curve anywhere, is there? But there seems to be this claim and belief that there's like curve everywhere, all the way around us in a 360 degrees, that it all curves away at 16. What is it? I can't remember the rate now. 8 inches per mile squared, and there's no evidence for it whatsoever. But everybody seems to believe it. What kind of planet are we on?
We're not
a planet with optical obstruction.
Any obstructions, curvature for them guys. Isn't that right, P?
Where's the edge? Where's the edge?
All I see are balls.
A lot of curve of the Earth.
So what can we do for you today, Adam? Are you going to bring us some lack of evidence for any like gravity, curvature, rotation? You know, the things that we usually ask for.
I have nothing. I've got the afternoon off, and I was just sitting listening anyway. And I heard Ranty was going, so I thought I'd just placeful if nothing else. But I'm sure I'll not be able to resist commenting on something or other.
Yeah, there's not a lot of curve, but everyone thinks it's there. But there's definitely not a lot of it. And unless you even if you go over to Lake Pontchartrain over in wherever it is, the swamp, then there's still not a lot of evidence of curve. A lot of atmospheric effect, but like definitely no curve. But everyone seems to believe it, but it's definitely none of it.
Just one sec, guys.
Yeah, but when the same people are claiming that floors are curved, you know, the kind of idiots that you're dealing with.
Yeah.
My P900 is on this way. It's being tracked, and it should be arriving on Friday. I should have it on hand. So on Sunday, I will go out and make some observations. Woohoo, indeed. I'm excited.
Can't wait to see what you do. Have you got yourself a tripod?
Yeah, no. This afternoon, I'm gonna withdraw the money, and tomorrow morning, I'm gonna go buy the whatever I can. You know, I hope I can get enough at least for a tripod and an extra battery is what I'm gonna be needing.
I've had another thought. Science fiction based.
You okay, Arwin?
Yeah.
Okay, just checking.
Right. But was it? I forgot. Damn it.
So lads, I've got to jump out. If anybody wants to join, probably George or someone in the chat keeps.
George neither. He's another one that misrepresents maths while he tells people what's going on. He can't. He what did he do now? He was explaining the definition for neutral buoyancy, and he put in two forces that were equal and opposite, and that's not the definition for neutral buoyancy, George. Why don't you come in and tell us why you did that? I'd love to hear what you've got to say for that mistake.
Yeah, he was saying earlier that he wanted an invite to join, so I'll give him the invite. Go on, join.
So if I may point out another space fantasy conundrum, as it were, because they often like to say that space is really cold, you know, and that like if you don't have heating going on, that eventually, yeah, the coldness of space will suck out all the temperature. That's what they suggest often. But the thing is about temperature is that it's only really transmitted through contact with other matter, and then the heat, which is basically the resonating, as it were, of the molecules, is transferred from one molecule to the next. But if there's a vacuum and it's just properly enclosed, it's not leaking, then how could temperature possibly escape?
Yeah, nice, Owen. That's another nice, isn't it? That's what the trouble with the ISS is, isn't it? It's got.
But if it's just enclosed, it's not going to matter. It's only when it's actually close to atmosphere, then whatever the temperature of that atmosphere is may influence it, because it's actual physical contact of the molecules.
A small amount of atmosphere.
But in a vacuum, there is no contact. It's a vacuum. It's a really bizarre concept, actually, when you think of it.
Without any atmosphere, even a small amount is hard, but it does work with a small amount, but no atmosphere whatsoever to dissipate any of the heat that the ISS will be picking up.
Exactly.
It means it would just constantly get hotter and hotter and hotter because it's got nowhere to radiate it away to.
Now, it could vent it,
With what?
like steam or whatever, with heated up air or whatever. I don't know. Some kind of way to drop the temperature.
You would have to load something
Steam
and then
vent.
eject it from the place. You'd have to
Exactly,
load,
exactly.
like you say, but that would stop their air recycling units, wouldn't it? Because you're not recycling, you would have to vent it.
Yep. It's a bit. It makes it a lot more complex. How that works.
And did you agree on the other one? I went for boil,
Yes,
vaporize,
definitely agree.
and then dissipate.
I know. I agree to that. Although I have seen many science fiction space movies, even more recent ones, where they love to suggest things like ice crystals. Like that would form from just water.
It's
being released.
like Princess Leia in the last Star Wars movie.
Yeah.
She starts to freeze up, whereas actually a tongue would boil, wouldn't it? And she wouldn't
I
be
was thinking
freezing.
exactly the same thing. Yeah.
Yeah, you
absolutely
wouldn't want
right.
to see what would actually happen. But it suggested that she had a fourth layer of protection. So
Well, they can't argue then.
yeah, I don't know if I had this emergency instinct to just layer myself up like a shield in extreme situations where you'd lose consciousness. Let's say that were possible, then yeah, I would do that.
Yeah, but yours would be a
Very
downward
convenient
acceleration
for the
force,
CGI
wouldn't it?
team. Because nobody wants to see Princess Leia being ripped apart by space. It's disgusting.
As you're talking about Star Wars, I found something interesting out yesterday. I follow Star Wars a lot, very quickly. So there's this guy on YouTube called Mark Zero that I follow. He's in the rumor mill about Star Wars. One of the directors a couple of months ago, Colin Trevorrow, was fired. Now, I'm not going to suggest that the reason I'm about to give is the reason why he was fired, but it comes out that Colin Trevorrow had an idea that he wanted to take the film crew into space to record back to the Earth to make it super, super, super realistic. That's what I heard on Mark Zero yesterday, that he wanted to go into space, and then a couple of months later he was fired. Now, I'm not suggesting they're connected, as I just said, but I just thought it was really interesting.
Yeah, that's true believers, you know?
Shout out to Retro Bill for the super chat. Thank you very much. Much obliged.
That's what happens when you're a true believer and you go too far. They firewall you, and then they just say, no, never gonna happen, or you're stupid, or whatever. It's really sad.
I almost fell off my chair yesterday when I was listening to that. It was really funny. It's like, yeah, I want to go to space and I want to record like back images, and like then I want to superimpose the CGI over that.
Yeah,
and
like
record,
let's do Star Wars for real already.
space
We
battles.
can, right?
Hilarious. But yeah, as you just brought up Star Wars, I just thought I'd throw that in. That was a nice little segue into that because I was dying to tell you. I didn't know how I was going to bring it in.
I like
Flesh.
Chewbacca.
Yeah, me too.
Do it then, P.
I can't do it.
Do it, man.
Yeah, but an attempt would be funny. Go on, P.
Muted. I'll give you a go.
Lots of terrible impressions. Love it.
Nah.
For those who are
You're
just
gonna
logging
throw
in
in
the show,
text.
they say, "What the hell?"
But just going back to Arvin's point,
That one.
about them saying that they freeze things in space when you see like movies and they suggest that this is what would happen. And then you listen to Arwin's argument a couple of minutes ago, what he started off saying, that no, this isn't what would happen. It completely is against what physics would suggest or would dictate in this situation. So yeah, it's interesting what they tell us as opposed to the truth behind the actual situation.
But it's mixed all over the science fiction world. Like one movie does it in one way. Like especially horror movies, they love to do that kind of crap. But more like action-based things, no. It's basically up to the convenience. Like, yeah, how real or how gory do you want to make it?
Shout out to Ninja Man for the super chat. Thank you very much. Much obliged. Really appreciate it.
Is there going to be blood? Or is
Another
it
thing
just
Another thing that they don't show in like space movies like Star Trek and Star Wars and so on It's kind of the reverse of what we don't see when we see a rocket take off and then all of a sudden cut scene and it's in space. The reverse happens. They fly down towards the planet, cut scene, they're in the clouds or the high atmosphere. They never have that reproduction of a curve as you're coming down towards a ball, and then has it kind of would actually pan out into the horizon as you would expect it to do, if that's what you were doing coming in from outer space. They never show that scene.
Yep. Not actually, they have tried, but it's very difficult to do. You have to have like a complete, like a flashy going through atmosphere type thing. They're getting very tricky, but I've seen very good versions of Planet Approaches, basically. Very good versions. So it all depends on the artist, how smart they are.
Yeah, my statement to say that there isn't any is probably I've never seen any. It's probably a better way to put it. But yeah, I've never seen any of that kind of transition from space down to the ball. The same way that we'd have to see transition from the ball up to space.
Yeah,
I have seen multiple movies since 2015 that had that kind of re-entry, especially usually the high budget ones.
The extra minute that we're looking for from going from flat horizon to starting to morph into a curve, you know, or vice versa, getting from the curve and starting morph to a flat horizon until it lands. We never get it.
No, absolutely. It's never shown either way. Because then you're going to sit in an aeroplane and go, oh, there it is, or isn't. Because you should see it, doesn't matter how high you are. Spherical geometry dictates you should see curve if we live on a ball. We don't. And they never show it to you. And they don't show that transition in films either, or they have tried to, but you're never going to see that pan out into a flat horizon.
You can see a curve in high altitude balloon foliage.
Thanks, P.
The curve is the truth. The flat Earth.
If you said it in Wookiee, P, I might believe you.
The flat Earth is a lie.
No, that's not Wookiee.
We was brainwashed.
Excellent argument, P.
We got brainwashed into them flat Earths.
It's the other way around, P.
Now the sphere's the truth.
Hey, Anthony, whilst you're there, I don't know if anyone has asked you because I joined late, but how did the study day go? You there?
What was the question? Who are you asking it to?
I was just asking Anthony. I heard he was studying yesterday and wanted to know how he's getting on, how many words he's at, and.
Did you not see the video last night?
No, I've been poorly. If I'm being honest,
I've not been well.
I've been poorly, boy. Yeah, so I caught a bit of Nathan's show yesterday, and then I watched that late last night. I was back up, but I was sleeping the rest of the day. So, you know, what's happened? What have I missed?
That's a pay cut for you. You're not keeping up to date.
I'll drop one. Go on, Chocolate.
No, that was me. Iron Realm, he's getting a pay cut because he's not keeping up to date with the flat rate. Go ahead.
It's bad, isn't it? It's bad. You see, you have one or 2 days off, a little bit sickly, and you miss all that. And now I'm an ill-informed fool now. I sure.
Well, the flat Earth debate goes really fast when you've got people like P and Alan bringing in all our evidence and all our information about the ball that we live on. So yeah, the debate's going really, really fast. We've had people in over the last couple of days that have been shoving information and evidence and the scientific method in our faces. We're just completely bamboozled. We're punch drunk this side. Sorry, did anybody notice the sarcasm in me then?
It is noticeable, isn't it? It's I think Nathan said it earlier. It's people just coming in like as sacrificial pawns, isn't it? Really, just relegating themselves to idiots just to not deal with any of the issues. So just asking for you to explain the basics that I'm pretty sure they know very well.
Riley, you still here? You want to do a quick recap on what went down yesterday on your project?
What went down yesterday on what?
On the project that you are working on the college.
Nah, I didn't.
Oh, yeah, it was my fault, mate. I was asking, and I didn't see you'd done an update, so I will leave it and catch up. But I was just.
Oh well, basically, in a nutshell, I met with the teacher for the first time yesterday, and obviously it was the first time that I've had any formal like education for about 15 years, and it's all changed. Lots of new things there going on that I didn't know about previously. Most notably, the chairs that you sit on now are not like chairs that I was familiar with in the past. So it was new. It was all new to me, and well, basically, we went around the classroom and said about what we wanted to do and stuff. And because I already have a strong idea for what I want to do, I was ahead of the game in terms of, you know, the questions that other people were being asked, because I already knew what I want to do. And the teacher basically pricked her ears up a couple of times and started narrowing the questions down to what it was that I was wanting to do. And basically, it was quite productive. I quite enjoyed it.
Cool.
But I've got to
so
do
well received then. Well received initially, not too.
Well, I've had an email back and forth with her since yesterday, and the only thing that she's concerned about is that it appears that it may be a little bit the angle. She said may not be as strong. The angle of attack, interestingly named, may not be as strong as what it needs to be for the point. And I'm like, well, in that case, let's find the angle. Let's make that angle so that it's strong enough.
That's what you've said as well, hasn't it? You wanted to get a bit of databasing and try and find some argument in law.
I've got to make the angle.
It, yeah.
But there's numerous angles to attack here. There's not just potentially the teachers. There's also the establishments of the Board of Governors and the people that are responsible for putting the national curriculum together. They're also the people that I'm going to be looking at. So it's not just the teachers. So there's many different fish in this pond. It's just a case of finding the right fish. And
shout out to SX0 for the super chat. Thank you very much. Much obliged. Sorry to interrupt.
So I had a back and forth with the teacher this morning. She said, leave this with me over the weekend while she has a think about it. Because she's got to assign me a mentor, a teacher. And she doesn't know who best to do it. And I don't really care who does it or doesn't do it. I just need to know that this is okay. And I've got to try and sell her the idea because she's my first stumbling block, of course. And if I can get it past the first stumbling block, I'm halfway there. But I'm not past it yet. I'm far from past it yet. So I'm not home and dry by any means. I've still got to work on the sales pitch. But I'm working on it.
Well, it doesn't sound like you've got to get it past it. It sounds like she's intrigued herself and is looking into it herself, mate. That doesn't sound too obstructive. That sounds quite a decent reception, I think.
Yeah, it is. It is. She definitely pricked her ears up, and that's all good. And I'm really looking forward to going back and doing a bit more work with her in the coming days and weeks, because it is going to need careful thought. Because there are, like I say, there's many fish to aim for here. There's not just the one fish, so it's just a case of working out what is the line of attack, the angle of attack, and then making sure if there's only one or two shallow angles, that I can get 3 or 4 more shallow angles, so that there's just not the one angle, because there won't just be one piece of legislation. It'll be multiple pieces of legislation that may or may not apply to different people. And that's where I've got to really show that this works and persuade her that there's enough in it. Because if she thinks at the minute that it might be a too shallow angle of a point of law, then there's not going to be that much to write about, in her opinion, at this point. Well, you and I know that you could write 12,000 words pretty easily on not having to do very much in terms of like curvature and stuff like that. So it's not right to say that there's only a shallow angle in law. It's just I don't think she's really understood the depth of it yet. But she hasn't smelt the conspiracy fish yet. She hasn't spotted that it's a conspiratorial one yet. So that's all good.
Cool. Anthony,
yo.
Yesterday, I was in side chat and Gleam. Shout out to Gleam in the chat, by the way. gave you some information about a guy from the early 1900s that had done something pretty similar to what you're doing. Did you look into that?
Ebenezer.
Did you find anything out?
I've looked at this document before that Gleam gave, and I discounted it on the basis that I considered it to be satirical, or I couldn't discount that it was satirical, because there's no other supporting documents that I've found to support that one document. It seems to be a document that exists in isolation all by itself. Now, I'm not saying that it's to be dismissed. What I'm saying is that I need more citations like that for it to be reasonably credible, because one on its own isn't really going to be. There needs to be more supporting documents. I was aware of this Ebenezer Good guy, Ebenezer, whatever his name was, before. I was familiar with it, and I'm aware of the scenario. But like I say, I consider it to be what's it called? I considered it to be satirical rather than real world, because it didn't seem sincere. Well, as far as I could see anyway. And that doesn't mean I've ruled it out. I just think that, it's difficult to know whether this is satire or not. And it does seem to be satirical.
Yeah, well, you stick it in your back pocket, man. If anything comes up that correlates with it, or, whatever, you've got it, haven't you? But I just thought it was nice that I get the feeling that because you're going to be doing this, it's going to be a lot of kind of community involvement, and people are going to be presenting you with little bits of information that might help you along your way.
Yeah,
I just think that's really, really good about the community kind of aspect of it. So when Gleam was doing it last night, again, shout out to Gleam, because I think he does a really good job in the side chat. It was just really good.
But I'm going to give a shout out to Gleam as well, because I've come across that document before and I have used it before to make the point. But the counter that I've had against it is that you can't discount that it's not satire because of the way it's written. It does seem it is a language from an older period in time, and I agree. It's difficult to rule out that it's not satirical by nature, because it does look like it could be. And I don't want to cite somewhere that's satire, because that would destroy the credibility in itself.
Of course, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Just stick it in your back pocket, man. If you've got anything to support it later, then you've got it, haven't you? But yeah, good stuff.
I think of everything you do as satire, Anthony.
You think that everything that I do is satire?
Yes.
Okay. Well, you're entitled to your opinion, P.
Got me to read the little piece?
Yeah.
Okay. Quote, "It is painful to read that Sir John Goist, the head of the British Education Department, is in serious trouble and has been threatened by Mr. Ebenezer Breach and other taxpayers of the city of Portsmouth in the United Kingdom of England with prosecution under the Imposters Act. It seems that the schools of Portsmouth have been teaching the damnable and heretical doctrine that the earth is a sphere. Sir John's attention has been called to this dissemination of SEDITIOUS, don't know what that word is, and treasonable doctrine, but has refused to correct the abuse. Ebenezer and his friends know, of course, the earth is flat as a pancake. They have been patient with Sir John, and day after day have allowed the false teaching regarding the shape of the earth to go on, but can stand it no longer. They say, to see their children corrupted with the most heretical doctrine, such newfangled ideas that the earth being a sphere, he may impose upon the frivolous persons who riot in the ungodly city of London, but not upon taxpayers of Southampton. Ebenezer and his friends mean business, and have served formal notice upon the Portsmouth School Board that the teaching that the earth is a sphere cannot be allowed to continue under the circumstances, plea, or explanation whatever, and that it must be abandoned under the pain of punishment for schism by the law provided. Library of Congress, the Cook County Herald, Grand Marlis, Minnesota, Volume 8, Saturday, April 27th, 1900. And what I'll do is I'll stick the link.
That's similar to the English one. Have you got the English one of that?
Well, I'm going to post the link in the chat so people can read it for themselves.
I think that is the English one.
Is it? I thought that was. That's what I thought at first, and then the citate. John Savage has got one. He did it on the show years ago. I'll get him to dig it out. I'm sure that's the English version of that news article, but it's by the English press. I'm sure he's got.
If anybody's able to like rule it out for being satire, because you have to remember this was written in 1912, 1900, whatever it was, and that's like a language that we don't use anymore, and it's really hard to discern whether it's serious or not.
Oh, it won't let me post it in the chat for some reason. I've posted it, it just doesn't appear. That's weird.
I'll get in touch with John. He's definitely got, and I thought it was English press, the one he had. So that seems to be a corroborating story for it.
Yeah.
If that's the case. So that doesn't make it any the more genuine. It just means the press repeat themselves. But
I am aware that it's reported
mate.
in a few different places. But I just find it hard to believe that it's true, because just the way it's like, I mean, if you look at the beginning, the very first sentence, it starts mid-sentence. It doesn't seem to start as though it's in the right place, like the beginning. It seems to start midway through a sentence. And I find that suspicious, because it's like, well, why would it do that on the front page?
Mate.
Hello, Ranty. You're on air. Do you know?
Oh, am I? Right, okay. Yeah, I've just been thinking. It was just a quick call. Do you remember the lighthouse that Anthony filmed from the hill, looking over at the Isle of Man?
Yeah.
Yeah, Mackled.
Yeah. Do you remember the inferior Mirage that was underneath it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Runs right through the middle of the lighthouse.
Yeah.
The one that Rumpus didn't tell us about, but knew about.
Yeah. The one that, now that we're working on inferior mirages and understanding what they actually do, would you want to revisit that and have a look back at that and perhaps think to yourself, okay, then, well, if the inferior mirage is hiding in the bottom of the lighthouse, how far down did we actually see?
Yeah, it's well worth reconsidering. I love looking at the Isle of Man stuff.
We'd already sussed that at the time, Ranty. I'm not sure if you were still with us at that time or whatever, but what I know is that we'd already worked it out, and we were waiting for the ballers to mention it, and they never mentioned it, and they swerved it. Now, I don't believe that the Rumpus didn't know about this. I believe he does know about it, and he kept well away from it. But we're well aware that that Mackled Lighthouse thing was basically an omission on their part, but we don't know why, other than it would have put us onto the right track if they'd have mentioned it.
I think I know why. I think what we're seeing in that instance is the diffraction limit. Every single time you see it, it doesn't matter if you can see 40 miles. So on the one that scrolls past now, the one the audience is seeing of the Isle of Man with the lighthouse, that day you could see 40 plus miles. Now the lighthouse is only 31 miles away. So in other words, it doesn't matter how much visibility you have beyond that distance. You can see as much as you can see at that distance. But you still get the mirage every time. Ranty got it when he went back and did it. You get it every time at that point on that hill. So I believe that is the diffraction limit, i.e. a combination of how far you can see given the zoom you've got in combination with the angle that you're viewing it at. In other words, that is my given a clear day situation. And what's limiting it is the angle. Hence me saying if you could go up on a ladder, this was the discussion we had that I think Anthony's saying you weren't privy to or weren't around for, or Ranty. If you went up on a... Oh, hello. Wakey, wakey. If you went up on a ladder, you'd see more because you'd have a higher angle.
Hey?
You'd see less of the Mirage. In other words, the Mirage would work its way down the lighthouse as you went up in altitude. You got up on a ladder.
If you remember, though, at the time, the size of the inferior Mirage was basically the same size as the lighthouse. And their argument was, obviously, we could always see the lighthouse. So our point was, well, we shouldn't even see the lighthouse anyway. That should be long gone. Their point was, well, how far down are we seeing? And they were just measuring to the visible part of the lighthouse. They weren't taking into consideration the inferior Mirage.
Right.
Yeah, but we were aware of it, though.
I think it's because if they were to actually detail what that is and why it's consistent across the full length of the island, it's because that's at the angle that you start to have a mirage. That is a limitation of the angle, i.e. the clearness of the day makes no difference. Other than if it covers it. If you cover it, obviously you won't see it at all because the atmosphere is getting in the way of that limited angle. So that's just a physical, literal obstruction. Something is physically in the way, i.e. the atmospheric blocking. But on that day with that photo, that wasn't the case. Anthony could see in excess of 40 miles. So he wasn't seeing atmospheric conditions causing that mirage. No way. That was the angle causing that.
Yeah, I agree it was the angle. But don't forget, though, that hill when we did the Mackle Lighthouse observation with the stitch, that was the highest hill. So even with that highest hill, we were getting that effect. And it doesn't really make any sense for me that the highest hill would give us that effect, because the angle there would be virtually parallel to the lighthouse, wouldn't it?
No.
Mind you, that is the reason for the hill, for the angle.
But precisely, if you can raise up higher, then you can increase your angle of view to that lighthouse. What's happening is, because you're getting further away from it, you know, it's back to the argument with Josh in your 10-foot wall. Well, the angular size of it is decreasing and getting closer and closer to the horizon as you back away from it. Therefore, eventually, it will reach that angle. Everything will eventually as you back away from it. Doesn't matter how big the thing is, there will be a point where all of it reaches that limited angle as you back away from it. And it will disappear through the limitation of angle. But by the same token, if you got on a step ladder on the top of that hill, you'd increase your angle, therefore forcing that Mirage to work its way down the lighthouse. And I can prove this by the converse. As you go down the hill, the Mirage works its way up the lighthouse. And I've seen it. You've seen it. You've shown me photos of it. You get a more pronounced effect of the bottom section of the lighthouse being dragged right out if you try and take it from any lower elevation, don't you, Anthony?
Correct. I agree.
Right, so
and
that's the Mirage. It
is caused by the angle, I do agree.
Right, so that's the Mirage going up the lighthouse as you go down in altitude. But the converse is true. As you go up, you don't even have to use a ladder. You go back up and the Mirage works its way up. Simple. And if
that's why, yeah, my elevation drops have showed that.
Yeah, exactly. We've demonstrated this time and time again. But you have. I just take credit. Hey, Tree Seeker,
right,
how you doing?
I'm going again now, guys.
Sorry, Ranty. Hey, Tree Seeker, how you doing?
Hey, morning.
Good
I don't want to change the topic. I just came on real quick because I know because I've read a lot of stuff from that era. People talked much more succinctly and to the point. You know, not as much fluff in the 1900s and journalistic. So I think that's maybe why it starts mid-sentence or, you know, whatever, that it may seem a little different. That's all I wanted to say.
So you're saying because it's so wordy, that wouldn't be how it would be reported back then?
No, I'm saying that is how people reported it back then.
Oh, right,
people
okay.
Talk like that.
But there's another quick explanation. When you read articles from old newspapers, you start reading a small paragraph and there is a continuing page 8. And then you go to page 8 and then it starts out of nowhere, just a continuation of a sentence. So who knows if we just catch in half of the article.
I think it's on the front page. So, I mean, if it was continued, I think it would list that. But I'm just saying people were much more succinct writers. That's all I'm saying.
What does succinct mean?
Means P-mouth looks a bit of...
It means they don't have to introduce P like they do in the dumbed-down papers of today, you know, Busty Jane 27. They can be a bit more succinct.
He does know this. He's trolling.
I know, but I'm just patronising. It's boring.
I'll use the term. They were more blunt. You know what that means?
Yeah.
Hey, Truth Seeker, haven't seen you in a while.
That'd make sense, right?
I'm still fighting the good fight. I'm spreading the truth to many people. Trust me.
Cool.
Got a bit of a bee in your bonnet for the who and the why. Is it the who and the why with you? I forget which two it is. I'm sure it's the who and the why.
I'm more important. I don't care about the who. I care about the why.
Yeah,
the why is infinitely more important than the who. I don't care who did it. I care about why.
And what have you found?
I just care what the public think.
Well, what do you think, Truth Seeker? Why do you think we've been lied to?
For control, basically,
yeah, exactly.
into like layers of an onion. It's not just one control system. There's about 100, easy on the surface, and you got to break through all the layers of the onions to realize it's a whole bunch of smoke and mirrors. And when people get down to the real truth of the matter, they'll find we're living in an entire system of fraud, from legal fraud to financial fraud to everything. We're the true creditors of this dang money, and it's time that they stop treating us like we're the debtors. I mean, that's the truth of the matter. I'm tired of.
Again, Anthony.
So I've been on this note a year ago. No one seemed interested in it. I'm glad at least now there's people are starting to get tired of beating dead horses and saying, hey, you know what, maybe we should talk about this. So I appreciate it.
Well, it's not really a dead horse. That's where I disagree with you. There are people that are new to flat Earth that don't realize that the conversation's over. But if they don't realize it's over and they come to it expecting to see a conversation, where are they to go?
So I agree, and that's why when we had our long discussion, I asked you to produce a mission statement, which you kind of danced around. And I said, hey, if your mission statement is to catch all the new people and you want to stay on those basic levels, then have that as a mission statement and let that be more publicly known. Or as where people like me were talking these same exact things with you over a year ago, it seems, it's stagnant to me and you. I'm not claiming it's stagnant to every interpretation of it, but I'm saying clearly it hasn't progressed the way that I would have thought, because I was talking about this stuff over a year ago and it just falls on deaf ears every time.
But my question back to you was, what do you expect?
Progression. I don't know. That's what I would expect. I mean, that isn't necessarily that my expectation is true or is correct, but that's what I would personally expect.
But I would argue that we have progressed. I mean, there's like 200 people watching every live show. No ballers come on the panel anymore to troll. I would class that as progression. I mean, given what we've got, the tools that we've got, which is basically the internet, I don't know what else we could do other than start an army and fight a war when we don't know who we're fighting a war with.
Hey, I agree. And we worked out our differences, I would say, over that long talk. I don't have any negative feelings. I apologize for, any way that I may have came off before. I definitely I'll admit, I don't have any kind of paranoia, except for when it comes to these truth talks, because I know how many actors and infiltrators like to get on these circles. So there is only one thing I will admit I'm paranoid of, and it's in these little talks, because I know how many people like to steer it off track and whatever. So
yeah.
I think this is one area where paranoia is well deserved, and I maybe don't have proof for all my accusations, but when stuff's quacking like a duck, Truth Seeker might come on and call things a duck without any proof.
Well, listen,
shout out to Piché. He called us all actors.
Well, Truth Seeker called me an agent, didn't you, Truth?
I may have called you an actor.
An actor, yeah, actor, agent, similar thing. But I think, like I said, I think that based on what we have,
been watching it for a year, just hold on, let me at least speak. And this is nothing towards you, but I mean, how can somebody legitimately think like people like P. Mars are getting any type of real fulfillment coming on, just going, we're not on the ground. Proof of art, we're going to sphere. At this point, it just seems like actors in some sort of controlled dialogue is what I'm saying, because I wouldn't put up with willful stagnation of such antics. But I mean,
agree.
Hey, it is what it is.
I mean, we all know that
it has to be demonstrated, though, doesn't it? It has to be demonstrated that this is how people run their arguments, and this is the sort of people that, talk around in circles, don't answer questions, don't give evidence. They have to be kind of made examples of.
Yeah, and hey, I would never say that you guys aren't incredibly well at destroying the how. Like you guys nailed that. You nailed it. Like you nailed the horizon observations. You nailed a lot of key things that people made them think that's why they live on a ball. So hey, and that helped me think through these things. So like there's a reason why I was participating in this. Like we were all working this shit out. But and you guys are great at that. I just want to see. I know how ace you guys are at the how. I want to see how ace you guys can be at the why, because I know you can do it.
It's a ball.
Thanks, the question comes though: at what point do we shift our paradigm?
You don't have to. You do it naturally, is the way it is. If somebody new comes on, then you can go back to ABCs and build them from the ground up. But when someone like me comes on, going, "Hey, dudes, let's talk about the elephant in the room." The whole reason they created the globe was basically a modern debt-based slave system where people think they're free, but they're living on a plantation they can never attain sovereignty. They're withholding our sovereignty from us, and they bang us over the head and say, "You live in a free country. Now put your hand on your chest and say how much you love your freedom." Dude, we're slaves. I'm over the facades. This is a free-range plantation, and it's owned by England, which is owned by the Vatican, which is owned by who God knows what. And we just need to start exposing this fraud, because if we expose it, we outnumber them 1,000 to 1. They can't do anything.
I do agree, mate. I do.
Shout out to Fish Matrix for the super chat. Thank you very much. Much obliged. Really appreciate it.
Let me get a word in. Truth Seeker, Jose here.
He's wrong.
Thank you, P. Truth Seeker, I think I told you once, I know you're not going to be able to create a format show like this with open hangouts and people, but if you create a little bit of content, you know how awesome it would be just listening to you do a awesome rant, just a frustration, getting your frustration out, a rant, just like some people do. They sit in the front of the camera with your camera off, put your logo, and you say, "This is what's going on. This is what we gotta figure out. Come on, you know, who's with me? You know, give me feedback." And some people is gonna be really interested, and they're gonna give you feedback and ideas on how you can progress in your search. You know.
I think that's a solid suggestion. I appreciate that.
Yeah, I like to echo that statement as well. You need people need to have a voice. This is a platform for people to have a voice. So come and express your opinion, man. Come and put people in their place if that's what you want to do. Door's always open, isn't it?
And in that context, I think that Truth Seeker is absolutely entitled to come on and criticize us if he thinks that we're not doing something the way that maybe that either we should or that he thinks we should. But fundamentally, I think that we're doing the best that we can with what we got, which is basically a P900 and an internet connection.
And the voices.
And voices
as well.
And keep nailing the point. Make a 2-minute video today. Make a 2-minute video next week. Make a 1-minute video the next day. You know, keep repeating this, saying the same thing. Like, what is going on? We stuck. I want to figure out this. You know. So yeah, I think just rinse and repeat. You know, is the way.
And with that, I'm going to say first and foremost, a huge, massive, enormous thank you to all of the debating panel for making this debate possible. And of course, a massive thank you to all of the live audience for tuning in and hopefully sharing this debate. If you hated the show, you know exactly what to do. Probably done it already. But if you like the show, maybe consider sharing it with a friend or subscribing if you've not done so already. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I will see you all in the next video.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!